What's up, everybody? Brett here, and I'm back today bringing you guys some more Total War Warhammer 2 news and updates. Today is a big one. It's one that I've been waiting for honestly a long time, like years. Whenever I first delved into Warhammer lore, one of the first wikis I ever came across was for this big bad Albinosaurus Gorok. So whenever I play RPGs, my personal play style, I always like to play the Protection Pally, right? I love to be the guy who's super tanky with the big shield. Mace is probably one of my preferred weapons, and I like to be that guy that just doesn't move, that heals, and you just can't kill him no matter what you do. And that's what Gorok is. He is the Lizardman version of an unkillable, unmovable badass. So you'll see the pictures here are kind of cycling. We're going to go through those in a bit of depth in just a second because there's a lot of information there, some of which I haven't even seen yet myself. So I'm excited to do that. But before we do that, let's also go down here and read the little bit of lore and info they've given us. And as you can see, guys, the biggest deal is that it is releasing alongside the paid DLC. So Gorok is free. He's FLC Lord. He is going to release on September 11th, just like the DLC. Okay, so about this content. Gorok, or the Great White Lizard as he is known, is a veteran Saurus warrior with the scars to prove it, fighting side by side with the venerable Lord Kroak. Pretty important. He forms the solid center of a Lizardman battle line, the rock upon which Itza's enemies are broken. Man, his lore is amazing too, guys. He's one of those guys, he plants his shield in the ground and enemies just break against it. So leading the faction of Itza from the revered temple city of the same name, Gorok strikes out with Lord Kroak to ensure the great plan is followed and that Lustria is cleansed of usurpers. A powerful defensive warrior, he has a number of unique skills granting him a range of bonuses, including perfect vigor, that's very loreful, physical resistance also works well, terror and regeneration, I like those as well. Regeneration I'm not so sure in terms of like lore, but in the lore he is scarred to hell from all of the wounds that he suffers from the countless battles that he's been engaged in, and I'm not sure. So I want to talk about his model a little bit in terms of both the positives and the negatives. And I think this, when we get into one of these pictures, it's a pretty good place to show. So let's go ahead and click on this and bring it up to a bigger size for you guys to see. So I want to say what they did right first, in my humble opinion. So in my humble opinion, the shield and mace are awesome. In the lore, the shield is supposed to be so heavy that it takes it like an entire crew of skinks and saurus to carry it, forged in some sacred volcano. That whole sort of RPG trope, fantasy trope. And this mace is supposedly created and guided by the old ones, the alien gods that the Lizardmen worship. So it seeks out targets and allows him to hit his foes better. The whole thing with Gorok is that he's the great albino lizard. He's part of a special spawning, if you will. The Lizardmen aren't born, they're spawned from these pools. And whenever someone in the Lizardman culture is born with specific coloring, they're said to be touched by one of the Lizardman gods. And he was born albino, which is supposedly like a great blessing, right? His stature, his physical stature is super imposing. He's supposed to be much larger than a standard Saurus. And you don't want to, blow up the fluff, the lore too much out of proportion. But in my mind, he was always about as big as a Kroxigor. Which is pretty big for a Saurus. I mean, that's huge. Just as he's a Saurus the size of a Kroxigor, Nakai is a Kroxigor the size of like 2 Kroxigors. That's kind of, what you're left to believe after reading the lore. But from what I've seen so far, he's just a little bit bigger than a Saurus Old Blood. I'll reserve most judgment until I see him directly compared to one. But from the videos I've seen that were spoiled earlier yesterday, he seems to be a little bit small. His coloration also seems to be a little bit off. In the few pictures that we have of Gorok, from older sources, he's more of a white and pink. I do see now in this picture that they have given him quite a few scars. I mean, his body looks to be quite scarred up. You can see them on his tail, his legs here, his hands. So he does have his telltale scars of his many battles. The shape of his head kind of bothered me at first, but that is what it looks like, in the pictures if you look at it. I think he looks kind of cool. This picture here is, of course, a little bit stylized, but It's just the color's off. I just don't like the darker, the gray. It almost looks like he's a little bit blue underneath it all instead of being that white color. And that's a nitpick, but I think it's something that's easily changed. If CA wanted to change it, they could. And you'll see here in this picture, I mean, he looks almost like charcoal colored, which is in and of itself cool, right? But in this other picture, the actual game itself, it doesn't come out that way. He looks kind of blue with, really dark black scales. So here we go. So now we're going to get into some of the info that we've been hungry for. So starting off, look at this big boy in the back. That's Lord Kroak, if you're not familiar. He is an incredibly powerful legendary hero unit for the Lizardmen. Normally you have to jump through hoops in your campaigns to get access to him, but apparently as part of Gorok's campaign, he starts with him. And he starts with amazing abilities. I'm not sure if you'll have to level him like a common hero now, or if he'll, once again, because he is this ancient, basically mummified Slann Lord, if he'll still just come with all of his abilities. Pre-unlocked, all of his unique items. If he does, it will probably greatly trivialize the start of Gorok's campaign. I just don't know how anyone could stop Gorok plus, he gets a pretty good starting army as well of multiple Saurus. So, Skaven being his nearest threats, he's going to stomp all over them. Saurus smash Skaven, and Lord Kroak has gigantic AoE abilities that absolutely, Skaven blob up and then they get nuked. So, it'll be fun. It'll be fun if perhaps one-sided. And Itza itself, it's worth noticing, they have unique buildings in Itza. Itza is a home to a gold mine in the campaign. I'm not sure if they've given it something new since the last time I played, but I would expect it to have an extremely robust economy. It's also a larger slotted city, so you can do a lot in Itza. It's a great starting position as well. And this is a really cool screenshot. You can see the volcano in the background. Pretty sweet. Alright, so let's go to the next page. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here. Oh man, so this is going to be a tiny bit of a rant. Just a tiny rant. Stuff I read on Reddit and stuff I've, known from the lore for a long time. There are things that I agree with and things that I don't. I'm not going to pull up a Reddit page and say someone's wrong or someone's right. But I also thought that it would be very lore appropriate for Gorok to be one of the very few heroes in the game who has a golden shield here. Basically signifying that he has extreme missile resistance. His shield, he is the shield wielding guy in all of Warhammer lore. People were kind of arguing back and forth that there are no gold shielded units. If I remember right, the Goblin Big Boss for the Greenskins has a golden shield, which helps him out a lot. But also, if he starts with that plus some innate physical resistance ward save, we don't want to make him too overpowered, but I think he needs to be powerful in the correct ways. As a Foot Lord, I don't know if he's considered a large unit. Maybe they were trying to keep his size down just to keep him from being considered large, giving him that infantry status. That's something I haven't seen yet, but mass is a big deal in this game. Foot Lords have both positives and negatives, and when I say Foot Lord, for those of you who aren't familiar, there are lords that have no mount options. Gorok is supposedly this immovable wall, right? He's this heavy, muscular Saurus warrior who doesn't ride a Carnosaur or anything like that. So he is described as immovable, right? When he plants his shield and his feet, nothing can stop him. He's had direct charges in his fluffy lore. There's an instance of a Dreadlord charging him on his chariot or whatever and splintering against the shield of Gorok. That type of thing. And I think it would be pretty loreful for him to be one of the few units or a few lords in the game who's just straight up immune to knockdown. Now that cuts both ways in the lore. That's very flavorful, right? That's correct. But in practicality, the way Total War Warhammer works is that when a lord is on foot and they get knocked down, they almost become invulnerable for a few seconds. And really powerful large lords, like let's say Kolek is a pretty good example, being the largest. He'll, knock down a smaller foot lord, like let's say Ungrim, a dwarf lord. And Ungram just takes forever to get back up, right? And he gets back up and then he gets knocked down again. And as much as that sucks because you're not getting the damage from Ungram, Ungram is also protected from the damage from Kolek and surrounding enemies. So it really works in the favor of certain units. Sigvald is another great example. You know, with his regen, he lasts forever. Whereas, you know, you take Archeon or someone on a horse, and they can get stun locked, is what I'm trying to say. So there may be some hidden benefits here, but I would like to see him be the first real, you know, legendary lord with a gold shield. I would like to see him have huge mass so that he can't be knocked around at all. Like, at all. I think that would be pretty cool. And, you know, his armor's super high, but, you know, this could be partly because this tree is completely filled out. So we don't know what his base stats are, and I think that's a bit unfortunate. I love that he has perfect vigor. I mean, that's incredibly powerful. Unfortunately, guys, I can't hover over these and see what they do. Some of these I already know. I would imagine this gives him his regen, the Great White Lizard. It probably gives him a large HP pool plus regen. A Mighty Opponent probably gives him terror. Unflinching, not sure. Maybe that gives him frenzy and immune to psychology. That would make sense. Protector of Lustria might give him ward save. I know Honored Elder, I'm pretty sure that gives ward save as well. And then impassable defenses. You know, his melee defense is 82. That's pretty accurate IMO. You know, thick-skinned, of course, putting his armor up into the ridiculous 125 stratosphere, which is great. But like I said, we don't know. He's got Enforcer, Predatory Fighter. He's got Woundmaker here. I mean, his weapon strength is close to 600. And whenever he's fighting, you know, certain enemies, it's probably much higher than that. But yeah, hard to know. They have all these blessings here that you can unlock. And yeah, hard to tell what's what. And there's also Unrelenting Assault, which maybe gives him some physical resistance. I would love to go further down here and see what's at the end of that skill tree, but we unfortunately cannot. And then, of course, his unique item is the Shield of Aeons. So, you know, his mace, unfortunately, doesn't seem to be a unique item. Maybe he starts with it. Do they show that here? They don't. So it looks like he doesn't start with his mace, but maybe it's not part of his kit. I don't know. And here we get a good look at his screen. So, I mean, this looks awesome. This is him, you know, with a white mug. He looks very correct. We also get to see Nakai's as well, looking awesome. Any secret tidbits here? Doesn't appear to be. But it says here he has an easy challenge. That makes sense. I mean, you start with Lord Croak as well, and he's just a super powerful foot lord with Lord Croak. So starts the campaign with him. He has the Right of Resilience, unbreakable and defense bonuses for Saurus. That sounds cool. And then he has a recruit rank +3 for Saurus Scar veterans. Okay. That's all good stuff, guys. And I think that's going to be all we have for for Gorok, rather. And that's pretty good info. And then while I got you here, there's also another little teaser trailer that's been announced. It's been shown for the War Wagon, and I thought we could watch that together. It's just a cool little 1.5-minute video if you'd like to watch that with me. And people were arguing in Reddit a lot about the physics behind strapping an artillery piece to a wooden wagon and not having the wagon ripped to pieces. And yeah, I gotta have to agree to that. But just taking a second to appreciate some of his like sweeping attacks. Nakai has this amazing charge animation where if you click on a unit far enough away from him, he starts to kind of wind up his attack by slamming his huge, I guess it's like a mace, into the ground repeatedly. And then when he gets in there, he goes so deep into infantry formations. It's awesome. But anyway, guys, let's go ahead and we'll quickly watch this video together. Hopefully the audio is good. And yeah, let's watch it.
The race of the Empire has access to some impressively powerful machinery of war. The war wagons are incredibly fast mobile weapons platforms that come with various different crew or weaponry. First, with a small crew of repeat handgunners providing ranged damage as well as heavy-hitting impact damage if you're unlucky enough to be charged by one of these units. Second, comes complete with a mortar, and third, a Regiment of Renown version with a Hellblaster. All war machines of the Empire are stunning feats of engineering, but be warned, if playing against them, they can cause absolute devastation on the battlefield.
They're like wooden boxes. Amazing feats of engineering, it makes me laugh. What's amazing is that they drive themselves. They look awesome though. I mean, I love them. I remember thinking that there was no way we would see them until Kislev, perhaps. And Kislev is even one of those things that's not guaranteed. But I'm happy to get them in the game. You know what? I mean, maybe it would have been cool to put like some knights in the front that just kind of like swing their swords. You know, just like a... They have that regiment that they've added. The... What are they called? Something of the Bull. They're like the Sterling special unit that you get as part of the Empire. New Vortex campaign. Maybe just put one of those guys, like basically like they're questing knights. Just put one of those with a greatsword in the front and let them swing around as you engage in melee, and it would look like at least someone's, you know, driving the wagon instead of just two horses kind of doing their own thing. But anyway, awesome little trailer, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and watching this. Once again, my name is Brett, and my channel is Good Talk Gaming. If you enjoyed today's video and you would like to subscribe, I would appreciate that. I'm a small YouTube channel, and I am edging ever closer to 300 subscribers, which is a personal milestone of mine. And if you would like to watch some campaign playthroughs, I'll be doing some of those when the DLC launches, and plenty of other strategy game type stuff. If you hang around my channel for a little bit, look in my playlist, you'll see that I've not only played a ton of stuff already, but, you know, I've got more stuff coming. So anyway, guys, without any further ado, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Take care.